Hi gang, StitcherMoose here, and I am trying a new camera today, so I hope this is better on focus and on lighting. So, let's get right into it. I'm going to do the ToolTime tag today, which as I understand it is your 5 favorite tools, so we will get right into that. No quantum physics today. Most of you are probably glad of that. Now, I just have to say, as weird as my videos were for the Know Your Needleworker tag, your comments were glorious. You guys you're great. Thank you. This is a wonderful community. So, anyway, well, quick side note. According to the multiple universes theory, there is a universe in which this video will contain quantum physics, but not this universe. So, you're off the hook if that's not your thing. If it is, you could travel to I'm sorry, go ahead. Scissors would be my first tool. What I used to use for scissors were at least, let's see if I can get this to focus. Scissors kind of like that. And if I can turn this to the side, you can see, if I get the right reflection, see how thick those blades are? That's a problem, as I discovered, because thick scissors blades like that can't get down to the fabric. They can't cut close to the back of the fabric, and that leaves at least like a 2 or 3 millimeter tail, and that's what led to the horrible habit I had of leaving really long tails, because if I tried to cut them to 2 or 3 millimeters, I would keep pulling those little tails through to the front, and it was really frustrating. So I started leaving long ones, and the back of my work looked like a shag carpet. Not good. A festival of tails is not what you're looking for on the back of your work. So I got Festival of Tales. Could be a good title for a Doctor Who episode. In Moffat, if you're watching. So I got me some good scissors. Let's see if that'll focus. Anyway, you kind of see where the tips are much narrower on these. They let you get right down to the back of the fabric, and as I showed in a previous video, the back of my fabric looks a lot better than it used to. And the other cool thing, look at this. Will that focus? That is an Archaeopteryx, or possibly a Velociraptor. It's not a stork like on your grandma's scissors. So there. And it comes with a holster. Boom. Next thing. Lights. I use for my charts. Simple bendy book light. That's awesome. LED situation, has a nice clip. Sits right up there. But the light that I really like, you might have seen this on Instagram over the weekend when I had to move my temporary stitching spot. I don't have like an OttLight, work light thing, but I have this, a bendy light that my father-in-law gave me as a gift. It does this kind of stuff where you can kind of bend it around your arm or around something in your car hood or whatever you're working on. But you can also do this. Bend it about like that and stick it over the back of your couch, and so it shines basically right over my shoulder like that, so it's like a spotlight right on my work, which is great because my eyes are old and broken. So, and it has a battery pack you can use, but even more cool, money dollar wise, is it has this, and that spins off. You gotta love tools that just do this. It's like a transformer, for God's sakes. So plug comes right out, right in the wall, charges up in about 2 hours or overnight or what have you, and it lasts for probably 3 or 4 straight hours with a good solid light, and then it starts to tail off. So lights, that's a great thing there. Let's see, thread conditioner. I didn't used to use any thread conditioner. In my first few projects, I just didn't do anything. They just tangled because I'd take them off the bobbin and start stitching, and like every stitch I had to hold the work up and let the thread dangle, and it would untwist like 18 times, and I don't know how that happened on one trip down and up through the fabric. That's ridiculous. So I found out about wetting the fabric, which I do. This is not a tool, this is just a side note. With I used to use a piece of like cotton t-shirt and soaked in water, and that just wasn't great. I saw a tip on somebody else's ToolTime probably, and I apologize, I don't know whose it is to give credit, but that is a makeup sponge, not mine. Yeah, that I actually didn't steal / borrow this from Mrs. Moose. She is aware that that is now a sponge for wetting floss with. So that's one thing. So what I do when I pull a new piece of floss is I first wet it, let it hang for a second to dry. It takes about 2 minutes. And then I use one of 2 thread conditioners. Also from Mrs. Moose, from her sewing kit, but she has a bunch of these, so she let this one go. This is beeswax. I also use, and I found at a Joann's store, this silastic polymer, also known as Thread Heaven. It's basically a synthetic, very soft rubber substitute. And I had to know what it was because it was just confusing. I didn't know if it was silicone or what. So it's basically, it's a long plastic chain that they do something to, and it becomes this. And how they operate is differently. Wax operates like wax. It's a little bit sticky. So I use wax when I'm using 2 threads because it encourages the threads to kind of not stick together. It's not gross and tacky. It just provides enough little adhesion that the threads lay together, and it makes them look neater as they're laying there on the thread. Thread Heaven, you know when like you rub a balloon on your head? It does the same kind of thing. It imparts a static charge to your string, so when you're using a single strand and you put Thread Heaven on it, it encourages it to not tangle up on itself and not twist, and it encourages it, if you look at it in really close detail, as the thread is going in through a hole in the fabric, it tries to keep itself in the center of the hole because it's trying to get away from the 4 walls around it, if you want to think of it that way. So very simply put, I use Thread Heaven for 1 strand and beeswax for 2 strands. Next to last thing, frame knobs. Here's a basic frame, and I used to have just nuts and bolts and wing nuts on this, and that meant I never undid it at night because you needed tools. And not that tools are bad, but I just didn't have them sitting in my floss bin. So I went to the hardware store, and I want to say, was it Wonderfully Hopeless maybe, on whose frame I saw these first? I went to the hardware store and got some of these. If I can show this a little closer. And I know they don't match, but the hardware store didn't carry a whole bunch of them. So I've got 4 of these 3-prong ones. I got figuring out my new camera, and it just went to